Hi, this is Kitty Boitnott of Teachers in Transition, and welcome to episode 9 of Teachers in Transition, the podcast and YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about a recent blog post that I put out on the Teachers in Transition website. And it refers to when changing careers, you need to seek clarity over confusion. Now, what do I mean by that? Lots of times when people are considering changing their job or switching from one career lane into another, they tend to think that the first thing that they should do is to write a resume. And I contend that that is the incorrect way to start a job search or a career change. That in fact, before you can even begin to consider what to include in a resume, you need to find clarity about what it is that you want to do in your next endeavor. And often people don't have that clarity, at least not at first. I know I didn't when I started my career transition. All I knew for sure were the things that I never wanted to have to do again in my next career. I had a list, it's a mile long, of all the things that I would prefer not to ever have to do again if I could choose what I was wanting to do next. But as far as what I did want, that was as murky and uncertain and muddy as possible. To the extent that I finally decided that I could not do this alone, that I needed some help. And that's when I hired a career coach, and it was the best investment I've ever made. Now, I know most of us think that we're smart enough to figure all of this stuff out. I have 2 master's degrees and a PhD. Certainly, I have the intelligence to figure out how to make a job change, and yet, that's not my area of expertise, and I hadn't looked for work outside of education ever. So I had no experience with writing a resume. And I made the mistake, frankly, of having someone write a professional resume for me. I paid almost $400 for it, and I never, ever used it. I still, to this day, feel like I just flushed that money down the toilet for all the good it did me. And the reason it didn't do me any good, now that I think back on it and reflect on it, was not the professional resume writer's fault. It was my fault. Because I couldn't convey a sense of clarity about what it was that I wanted to do. All I knew were the things that I had done. And in most cases, the things that we've done have little to do with what it is that we want to do moving forward. So how do you get that to conform with being able to write a meaningful, relevant, and pertinent resume? Well, I think it's possible. I just think that the first step is that you have to figure out what it is that you want to do, and you have to be crystal clear about what it is that you want to do. You have to clear up all that confusion. It's very similar to, and I use this analogy a lot. Let's say you decide to go somewhere, and so you go online and you book your airfare and you make your hotel reservations, but you haven't decided yet where you're going. Now, you wouldn't do that, would you? I mean, I don't know anybody who would do that. That sounds crazy. And yet, writing a resume before you have figured out where you're going and what you want to do is just about that futile. It won't get you where you want to go. So, when making a career change or looking to make a change in your job circumstance, the first order of business, I contend, is to figure out, what do you want? And for many people, They don't know how to answer that question, partly because they haven't spent any time thinking about it on a deep level. They've been told that they have to get a job and to take what they can get. Settle for what you can find. There are lots of people who are whiling away their lives in jobs that they have simply settled for. They don't enjoy them. They don't find meaning in them. They may be paying the bills with the money that they make from it, but they're just doing time. And I would suggest that it's far more pertinent and far more important for you to find work that helps you to make a life instead of making a living. Making a life is so much more than just making a living. Making a life means that you have a sense of balance between work and home, that you have fun for yourself, that you have time for things that are important to you outside of work. And the best of all worlds is when you can combine your work with what it is that you're the most passionate about. But in order to do that, you have to do some real deep reflection. You have to go within. You have to consider, what is it that makes you unique and special? What talent do you have that you take for granted? That you think, well, it comes so easily for you, it must come easily for everyone. That is not true. Each person that I've ever met has a unique set of talents, natural gifts, aptitudes, a unique history of work and education. All of these factors go into what would make you happy in your next job. And while I know there are some who poo-poo the idea of being happy at work because they don't think that work needs to be fun. Work is work. Why would it need to be fun? That's what you have weekends and vacations for. But I want to contend that it's possible for you to have a job where you can have fun, where you enjoy working with the people, where you feel like you're being appreciated for the contributions that you make, and that at the end of the day, you feel like what you're doing means something, instead of just going through the motions and spending time on the job in order to get a paycheck. I don't think that is a crazy idea. I really don't. And yet a lot of people think that that sounds impractical. And maybe it is impractical, but I know a lot of successful people who are doing exactly what they are meant to be doing, and there was no template for what they decided to do with their lives. They just followed their heart, followed their passion, and figured out a way to make it work. Whatever it is for you, you just need to get the clarity that you need in order to proceed to your next step. Now, how do you gain that clarity? Well, some people use self-assessments. There are a variety of them, both online and in all of the self-help books that you can find at the bookstore. I often recommend that people take a look at the What Color's Your Parachute book. And I also recommend Careerism by J.T. O'Donnell. I recommend Tulane Miedaner's book, Coach Yourself to a New Career. These are all references that are available to you that you can purchase and read on your own, and many of them include assessments that can help you to get in touch with what are your unique work preferences and learning styles, and what is it that you would feel would be the most meaningful to you in your next job. I think all of that is important, to do that kind of self-reflection. And as you do that, what it is that you feel called to do should bubble up to the surface. Now, I won't kid you. For some people, it takes longer than for others. And so the requirement is that you be open to the possibilities that what shows up for you is not necessarily what you were expecting, but that it ends up being the perfect thing for you. So be open. Consider the various possibilities. Don't close off your opportunities by thinking too small. While you are in the midst of a transition, this is the time for you to dream big and consider what it is that you want to leave as your legacy in the world. So that's it. Clarity over confusion if you're planning to change careers. Now, some of this I have some more information available in the blog post that I'll put in the show notes. The link to. I also have additional advice and information included in the ebook, 10 Things You Need to Know If You Think You Are Ready for a Job or Career Change. I'll include the free link to that as well. It's a free resource you can take advantage of to help you get in touch with what is it that you want to do in your next career. So that's it for today. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast or both so that you can be alerted when the next episode of Teachers in Transition comes up next week. And in the meantime, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave those. Send me messages and let me know what you would like for me to talk about in the future related to stress management or career transition. And offer a review. I would appreciate that very much. And have a great day. I'll be back next week.